In the year 1604, a young man woke in the night.
There was somebody standing at the foot of his bed, still, watching.
He knew the face.
They had parted hours earlier and nothing seemed wrong.
Yet the man before him did not stand as he did before.
His features were strained and his voice unsteady.
He stepped closer and said,
"Your place was meant to be with me." Welcome to episode 5 of Lent Daily, where we're sharing stories from our Catholic tradition marked by a sign or wonder of God that call us to conversion. And before we get there, a quick question for you. Have you been blessed by this video series? If you have, would you help us bless others by becoming a monthly supporter? Monthly support is the only way that we can continue to produce the videos just like the one you're watching. I don't know if you've noticed, but all our videos are free, but they're not free to make. Matthew and I estimate that we put in about 24 to 30 hours per episode to bring this series to you. And so if you'd like to help us in that mission, we'd be very grateful. You can head over to kenandjanelle.com. Now, today's episode begins with a man who is shown what he deserves.
The account begins in a city of Flanders in the year 1604. Two young students, their studies abandoned, their lives given to vice.
One night, they entered a house of ill repute together. Only one returned. His name was Richard.
Exhausted, he undressed in silence. He was ready for sleep. Then he stopped. He had not said his usual Hail Marys. He was heavy with fatigue, but he said them anyway, without devotion, almost unconsciously.
He lay down. The silence did not last. There was knocking. Not distant, not uncertain, violent.
Before Richard could move, someone was already in the room. It was his companion, but not as he had known him.
His face was distorted, and his presence seemed unbearable. Richard spoke first. "Who are you?"
"Do you not know me?" The figure replied. "I am damned."
This wasn't a dream. It was a warning, and now would be fully explained.
The damned soul spoke again. "When I left that house, a devil attacked me and strangled me. My body lies in the street. My soul is in hell. My punishment would have been yours, but the Blessed Virgin, because of those few Hail Marys, has saved you."
And then he showed him what awaited him.
The damned soul opened his cloak. Fire, serpents, torment. Then he vanished.
Richard collapsed to the floor, weeping.
As he rose, he heard bells in the distance, the call to night prayer from a nearby Franciscan monastery.
The warning was now complete. He could not remain as he was.
Richard did not wait for morning. He went at once to the Franciscan monastery. He asked to be received into the religious order.
They refused. They knew the life he had lived.
Richard told them everything. What he had seen, what he had heard, what had been shown to him.
Two friars went out into the street to see for themselves. The warning was confirmed. They found the body, just as he said it would be, strangled. The body was cold.
Richard was received. From that night forward, his life was changed.
Mercy had spared him, and it would demand everything.
Richard did not return to his former ways. He gave himself to God in religious life. He was sent out.
First to India, from there to Japan, where the faith was no longer tolerated.
Christianity was outlawed. Public preaching was forbidden. Converts and missionaries were hunted. Executions were made slow and exemplary to terrify others.
And there, Richard was condemned to fire.
He was not alone. Companions stood with him. The fire was set at a distance, 6 cubits away, nearly 9 feet, so death would not come quickly. Richard stood among them, lightly bound to posts. The cords were loose.
And they were loose because anyone who could not endure was free to leave. Richard remained. So did the rest.
As the fire burned around them, their bodies did not move. Their eyes were lifted to heaven.
Richard died a martyr, burnt alive for Jesus Christ.
The prayers that saved him from hell did not spare him from the fire.
They led him, with others, faithfully to the end. Today's story comes to us from St. Alphonsus and his book, The Glories of Mary. It's a great book if you haven't read it. This is one of the few stories in there that has a lot of detail. Normally his stories are a little bit shorter, so we're able to include it into this episode. Janelle, what stands out to you?
Well, I just have to say that Our Lady does it again. You know, as someone who has a devotion to her, she always comes and is with them, helps them to draw to conversion.
I think this one is really practical. I mean, we're looking at this story thinking, well, how can I relate with this? But just remember, what was the sin that this young man was struggling with? It was really the sin of impurity. Yet he had this devotion that he consistently did, which, according to the story, was his salvation. And we've mentioned this before. What is the best kind of devotion to have to Our Lady? Well, it's the one that is most consistent. So sometimes in Lent, we set the bar really, really high, and it's so high that we can't reach it. We have to be realistic with our spiritual goals in Lent. I mean, it's also normal to struggle, but we need to have this happy medium here. So for me, I have shared with you already, like just saying 3 Hail Marys at the beginning of the day, and then 3 Hail Marys at the end. That's just one thing that I'm doing for Lent because I think, well, it's possible. It's doable. And, you know, the world seems dominated and infested by lust and the demons that are related to it. And there is times in people's lives where they just feel overwhelmed and overpowered by this through different addictions. You know, we've talked in the past about pornography online. It's so accessible and how it can become really addictive in a person's life. Even remembering sins of the flesh of the youth, for example. People could be drawn to that and addicted by that, and they can't break free. Fantasies that just pop into the mind. The key is not to nurture any sinful thought in the mind. But here's something very proactive, and that is to run to Our Lady. Now, this is what St. Alphonsus says about this regarding the passions of the flesh.
Under the mantle of Mary, men find shelter from the heat of their passions and the fury of temptation. Unfortunate are those souls who withdraw from this shelter, neglect their devotion to Mary, and fail to recommend themselves to her in trial. If the sun should no more rise upon the world, says St. Bernard, what would the world become but a chaos of darkness and horror? If a soul loses her devotion to Mary, she will immediately be full of darkness. When the divine light does not shine in a soul, it is night, and it will become a den of all sins and demons.
Strong language from St. Alphonsus Liguori, saying that when we lose devotion to Our Lady, we can make our soul a den of demons. So this Lent, let us place ourselves under her mantle by having devotion to her to tame those unhealthy passions of the flesh. Thank you for remaining here to the end. And if you'd like to partner with us in our mission, you can head over to kenandjanelle.com. We'd greatly appreciate that. We will see you tomorrow.